guys, good morning and happy Wednesday. Here in Dubai, it's a very white and foggy start to the day. And I want to make today's video in follow-up to yesterday's video. Yesterday, I discussed the path of least resistance, and I introduced the concept as a way of making decisions in our daily life to proceed in a way that is the most comfortable, satisfying, and aligned way as possible. And yesterday, when I finished the video, I was reflecting on the notion of how to make decisions that are congruent or else that fit in with our overarching life goals or the overarching broader scheme of our life. And the reason why it's so important to think about this is that whenever we make a decision, especially important decisions, we eventually realize that it's difficult to make big decisions and sometimes even smaller ones because they fit in within a bigger context. And it's true for all of us. Whenever we're making any life changes and we're deciding on where to move to, or if we're going to change jobs, or if we're going to proceed in a relationship, or if you're going to embark on a new business venture, the reason why we reflect on these things so much is because they require changes in our life and because they will impact different aspects of our life and the other people that we interact with. So yesterday I mentioned that when you are asking yourself the question, which is the path of least resistance? Which course of action will make me feel the best and which feels the most comfortable for me in this moment? It's important to consider as well, how does that particular decision fit in with your overarching broader life goals and context? Because when you understand the bigger picture for yourself and the long term or even the medium term, you can actually find some more clarity in knowing how will this decision impact and fit in within the bigger context of my life experience and what I want. And this is where it becomes really wonderful and helpful to have clarity on our long-term wishes and goals or objectives. And perhaps you haven't considered it in this way, and yet when you begin to reflect on, what is the bigger picture, perhaps that simplifies the decision-making process. And one way that we can get better clarity, there's a great exercise that I learned from coaching, and that is called the timeline legacy process. And you can do this alone or you can do this with someone who can guide you. And it's actually quite simple and easy to absorb. And it consists of basically standing in an open space where you can move forward and back and placing yourself in the current today and then visualizing your future ahead of you. So in the open space ahead of you. And you want to first step forward 5 years and then take one step forward. Imagine that you're 5 years into the future. So this would be 2020. So in 5 years, where do you see yourself? All right. And then you put yourself there, you imagine who you will be with, what you will be doing, where you will be, how old will you be, what kind of work will you be doing, or what kind of a lifestyle will you have. And then after that, you want to move ahead another step and imagine yourself 10 years into the future. And so that would be 2025. You're 10 years older than today. And you can ask yourself, where will I be in 10 years? And then after that, you take another step forward. And it can be 20 years or 15 years forward into your future. And then, visualize yourself there completely. Imagine that you're totally there. It's 15 or 20 years in the future from now. And where do you see yourself? Close your eyes in that moment and put yourself in that future. who you will be with, what you'll be doing, where you will be living, the lifestyle you will have, the people in your life, and then just put yourself there and feel what you feel and notice what you experience in that moment. Finally, you can step forward again 50 years and do the same thing. And then following the 50 years, then you will step ahead yet another step. And this time it will be after you've passed away. After you've passed away, after you're dead, and you look back on your life, and then you can physically turn around and look back on your timeline that you've evolved by visualizing the progression of all the years. And you look back on your life and you look back and consider what was my legacy? What was your contribution in your life? What kind of life did you live? What experiences did you have? Who was in your life? What was the lasting memory or the lasting memories? What was the biggest impact that you wanted to have? And sometimes this is a difficult step, especially if we are if you are more in the second half of life, or whatever you want to call it, because sometimes it involves feeling our mortality and realizing that life is not forever and there is an expiration date and we don't know when it is. However, there is such a date, and so it gives us a little bit of sensitivity. So just, that's okay. Feel what you feel and just look back and notice what comes to your mind. Notice what are the first thoughts. All right, so then from that future vantage point, after you've passed away, you've looked back on your timeline, you've lived your whole life, and you see what your legacy was, what mattered the most for you in your life. And then you take all of that life experience and you generate a message, the most important message, that the future you, the wisest, most experienced, most knowledgeable and wise you in the future will send back to yourself today. So think of that message from the future you and then send it back to the present day, today, April 8th, 2015, and send it back to yourself to today, and just let it be. You don't have to speak it. It could just be an internal thought. Send it back to yourself. And after you've done that, then you can, go back on your timelines, take the progressive or the regressive steps back until you reach the current day today. And when you step back into that spot that represents today, April 8th, you will absorb the message that the future you has sent you. And when you've received that message, you can internally acknowledge with a head nod, yes, I've received the message and I understand it. Now, this can be a really powerful and very emotional experience. Some people tend to cry because it makes them realize how much we give importance to things that in the long term they are not really that important. And it also gives you great clarity on the things that truly matter. Now, as you go through this experience, if and when you do it, it might be difficult sometimes. Some people don't know. They don't know, I don't know what's going to happen in 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years, or, definitely not after I'm dead. However, that's perhaps because you haven't asked yourself the question. Well, if you did know, what would you think you would tell yourself? What kind of life do you think you would have? Which one seems to be the most realistic or the most you? And it's great if at first when you do this, you don't exactly know what to expect, you don't know what to see in those future years, because then you can actually start to think about what kind of a life you want to design and what are the things that you would love to have in your life experience. Even if you think they sound, far-fetched and, unrealistic for you, it doesn't matter. We don't know yet what will happen, but maybe you can design it. Maybe you can make it happen by your visualization, by your imagination and creativity. It is your life. Who's to say it can't be? So you can harness the power of your imagination, and you can work with your own spiritual source, with your own God, to give you guidance. Maybe if you're very spiritual and you have a relationship with God, you can ask God, what seems to be the most sensible thing for me? God, give me guidance. Or if you're not that much into having a spiritual relationship, well then ask yourself, what do I want for myself? What kind of life do I want to have? And then linking this back to my original starting point, which is having long-term or overarching goals or objectives or aims in order to facilitate decision making. Once you know what really matters to you in the long term and who you really are, it makes decision making today a lot easier, simplified, straightforward, and efficient. Because you know who you are more and more, you know what you want more and more, and you know what your values are and what are your priorities for your life. And that's the best that you can do today with the knowledge that you have. And then tomorrow and the day after, you will have more knowledge, more awareness, and then you can fine-tune your decision making. So that's the message for today. Maybe you want to give it a try. If you are in Dubai and you know me and you want me to guide you through it, we can definitely do that. It would be my pleasure. And if you are interested in chatting about it further, then definitely send me a message, and I will definitely be happy to chat about this and to guide you through the process. It's really powerful, enlightening, and it will give you great clarity and self-awareness. So hope you enjoy this message. It's about decision making, facilitating decision making by knowing what are your long-term objectives and values and priorities, increasing your self-awareness, having more clarity, more focus on yourself, and it involves a process, an NLP coaching process called the Timeline Legacy process. So I hope that this was really interesting. I think it is, and I'm wishing you an amazing and happy, joyful day wherever you are, and a lot of peace and many blessings. Bye!